this class. And again, apologies for everybody for the little problem this morning. We had to change from Facebook Live to Zoom because I had a little problem with my camera. So, but hopefully we will continue the same, and the material and the content will be exactly the same, and hopefully this will benefit you and everything will be fine. I think you can still chat and comment in the section if you want. And I don't think we're waiting for anybody, but we will continue for the moment. Okay, so the plan is more or less the same as every day. And we will continue with the same structure. So a little introduction for the grammar. And then after the grammar, we will look at an article from the newspaper in relation to India. Okay, so we will look at an article in particular in relation to India, and we will continue with the same routine. So a little different this morning, but again, thank you so much for your patience. And I hope more people will connect. I hope that everything will be fine, but I will post this video on the Facebook page as well. So I'm sure we will have more people connecting and trying to request to join the class, and fingers crossed it does not disturb you. You can see the sign appear on the page. Okay, so I will have to pay attention to the request, and I will have to accept people when they join. Okay, so thank you so much for connecting. A very different morning. So today is obviously Thursday, the usual situation. I have my dog, so hopefully he does not disturb us too much, and we will continue with the same structure today as normal. Okay, so this page is the introduction document, and most people are familiar with this document. Every day we analyze this introduction document, and I explain this document to everybody. It's very important at the beginning, and also for new people it's very important as well. Okay, so I'm just going to move the screen over a little and make sure we have everybody participating. Everybody is ready. And I'll make the screen a little bit bigger for the document just to show you. Well, yeah, I'm just going to try and make the Windows document a little bit bigger so you can see. So for me, there are three areas that are very important. The first area is use of English. The second area are the tenses. And the final area is just grammar concepts and other grammar ideas. So at the beginning of the class, it's very important that I explain the technical grammar concepts, because during the class I mention a lot about the technical vocabulary and the grammar concepts. So at the beginning it's very important that I explain the grammar concepts. Okay, so for me the use of English is probably the most important area. Okay, and in use of English we have accents, so different accents around the world. We have the accent from America, accent from Ireland, from England, from Canada, Australia, New Zealand. So accents are a big part of learning English, and very, very problematic, and it's difficult to really understand different accents. So that's a big part. And for example, in Ireland, for me, it's possible the pronunciation U is very strong. For example, must, Dublin, butter, that's very particular accent for Dublin, but phonetically it's probably Dublin, butter, bus. Okay, that's number one. The second issue is the TH, and phonetically it should be this, that, these, those, and sometimes in Ireland, in Dublin, it's like a D. Okay, so that pronunciation is important, and also with OU. So these are the little issues you need to be conscious of me when I'm speaking in my pronunciation, and Irish people, I suppose, as well. But other countries have different pronunciations, and it's a big part to learn English. Phrasal verbs are a very big category, and phrasal verbs are very important. We use phrasal verbs all the time in conversation, formal, informal, and we have a big list of phrasal verbs, a very, very big list. Okay, and we use phrasal verbs all the time, and they're so important. I think we have thousands and thousands of phrasal verbs. Basically, it's a verb and a preposition, and it's possible literal, but the significance is possible a second, completely different significance. Okay, that's the concept of a phrasal verb. It's possible literal, and it's possible completely different significance. the verb and the preposition. And one example is maybe to come across. So you are very familiar with this example. The verb to come is literal and across is the preposition. So come across the road. That's the first significance. But the second significance is to find unexpectedly. So I am cleaning my room. I am looking for my book and suddenly I come across a pen. So I discover or I find very, very quickly. Okay. Idioms are similar. We use idioms all the time. We use idioms in conversation, in formal situations, informal situations, and idioms are so important to really be familiar with because we use idioms or expressions every moment and all the time. So they are very, very important, okay? Pronunciation and conversation. So practicing conversation is a big part to improve English. If you really want to advance and to improve, practicing your conversation is a big part of English, okay? And during the class, I hope I can help with pronunciation and conversation because during the class, it's possible to participate, and maybe particularly today with Zoom, we can suggest for people to connect if you want, okay? But basically, speaking is a big part of English. So you can see the 3 or 4 categories for use of English. And again, every day I explain this introduction. So maybe today is very appropriate because we can spend 5 minutes to explain the introduction, and at the same time, we can wait for more people to join the class if they want, okay? The second category are tenses. So when you speak in English, you need to be conscious of the tense. Is it the present tense? Is it the past tense? Is it the future tense? And at the beginning of the class, I want to explain a few concepts because in English we have the simple, present simple, past simple, future simple. We have the continuous, present continuous, past continuous, future continuous. We have the perfect, present perfect, and past perfect. So I want to explain a little the concept because it is so important when you learn English. And during the class, I speak and I mention about the tenses a lot. So the present simple is one action you do in the present. The past simple is one action that is completed in the past. But the difficulty with the past simple, we have a lot of irregular verbs in the past simple, and that's very difficult. So that's the past simple, present simple, and the future simple. The normal construction for the future is will. I will go, I will eat, I will have, I will drink. Okay, that's the typical construction for the future. The second possibility is I'm going. I am going to eat. I am going to meet. That's possible for the future also. Okay. The continuous is one action you do in the period continuously. For example, the present continuous, and the construction is the subject, the verb to be, and the gerund. I am eating. And the past is very similar. I was eating, and the future, I will be eating. Okay, so that's the concept of the continuous. The next concept of the perfect is important. We have the present perfect, which is one action in the past. It's completed, but it's relevant to the present. Okay, so it's completed, it's finished, but it's relevant to the present. And the structure is the subject, the verb to have in the extra, and the participle. I have eaten. And this is the same example every morning. I have eaten my breakfast. So it started this morning, it's finished, but it's relevant and related to now because now I am not hungry. That's the present perfect. The past perfect is usually a period in the past that is before another action in the past simple. So I had eaten my breakfast when my friend contacted me. Okay, so that's the concept of the perfect. We also have the concept of the future perfect, which is a little more advanced, but it's very important. Okay, so the next one is the infinitive. And the idea or the concept of the infinitive is basically the foundation or the base of the verb. Okay, so in English, the infinitive is to eat, to drink, to go, to talk, the infinitive. And we use the infinitive all the time. And it's important you are familiar with the concept of the infinitive. Okay, so the infinitive is very important, a little technical explanation, but you are probably familiar with the concept of the infinitive. Okay, conditionals are very technical and the conditionals are very heavy with the theory. In the book, I am sure you are familiar with studying the conditionals, And the problem is it's very technical and there are a lot of rules and it's very strict and it's very heavy. So the conditionals are very hard to study, but in my opinion, in reality, they are a little more flexible and a little more normal. And usually it's connected to if and the tense. So if I go to the cinema, I will contact my friend. If I eat chocolate, I will be happy. Okay, so it's basically connected with if. That's the idea of the conditional. Okay, the other idea is the active and the passive. And basically, I think other languages have a similar concept with the active and the passive. Basically, the active is the subject, the verb, and the object. And the passive is a little more advanced, but you change the position. The object is first extra verb to be and the participle of the verb and then the subject. So that's the concept of the active and the passive. And it's very advanced, but it's also very useful and very important. And it's very impressive if you can use the active, the passive, the conditional, the perfect. If you can use them correct, it's very impressive and it will help you understand a lot of people. Okay, the grammar, the other grammar concepts and the other grammar ideas are very important as well. For example, a noun and a substantive. So what exactly is a noun and what exactly is a substantive? It's a person, a place, or a thing. Okay, that is a noun. For example, house, car, bottle, table, that is the substantive, that is the noun. And every noun, we need an article. So in English, you have a substantive, but we need an article as well, okay? So in English, we have two articles. We have a and the. A is the indefinite article, very technical, but not very important to remember. But a is the indefinite article. The pronunciation is possible a or a, and the definite article is the. So every substantive, every noun needs the article. Also, we have an adjective. So the purpose and the function of the adjective is to describe the noun, okay? And the position of the adjective is before the substantive. For example, the house, that's the article, the substantive, and the adjective, the big house. So you need to be familiar with the terms and the technical terms before the class, because during the class, I speak about the technical vocabulary a little, okay? An adverb. So an adverb, the function of the adverb is to describe the verb. And normally the adverb has the ending ly. Quickly, slowly, happily, rapidly. Normally the adverb has the ending ly and it's connected to the verb. For example, drink, walk, run, they're the verbs. Drink quickly, walk slowly, and run rapidly. So the adverb's function is to describe the verb. Modal verbs. So we have a lot of modal verbs, and modal verbs in English are can, could, may, might, shall, should, ought to, must. They are the most typical modal verbs. So can is for ability. I can play the guitar. The negative, I cannot. This morning, well, in the past, it's could not, but can is for ability. I can play the guitar. I can go to Italy. I can contact my friend. It's my ability and permission. I can enter the room. It's my permission. Could, may, and might are for possibilities and options. I could go to the cinema. It's an option. I may contact my friend. It's an option. I might contact my friend. So the difference, may and might are a little more formal and a little more polite, and could is just more general. That's the only difference really between could, may, and might. All for possibility. For example, it could rain today. It may rain today. It might rain. And because we are in Ireland, probably it will definitely rain. Okay, so I see there's a question here as well for Servelin raised his hand. Let me see what the significance here. What does that mean? I don't know, lower your hand. I don't want to lower your hand, but I think it's possible in the chat. Let me see if we have the possibility for the chat room as well. Yeah, so the chat is here. And if you have a question, Servelon, if everyone wants to contribute in the chat, that's a big possibility here as well. So I see your hand, Servelon, but if you want to put a comment in the chat, maybe that'll be better for the moment, okay? And hopefully that will solve your issue. Okay, so I'll put that here. Shall, so that's the modal verb. Could, may, and might are possibilities. Shall is for formal and older situations, but shall has the same significance of will. Is a question. Shall we have dinner? Shall we speak to our friend? Shall we go for coffee? It's a question, will, but it's a little more formal and a little older English. Okay, so that is important. Should and ought to have the same significance. The pronunciation of the second verb, ought to, is very formal and very a little older and a little formal, but the significance is exactly the same as should. You ought to read this book. You ought to go to the cinema. You ought to contact your friend has the same significance. You should go to the cinema. You should contact your friend. Okay, so very important. Must is obligation, the same as have to. So you have no choice. You must contact your friend. You must go to the cinema. You have an obligation. You have to. Okay, so that's the difference with the sentiment with the modal verbs. Can is ability. Could, may, and might is possibility. Should and ought to is for recommendation and advice. And must is obligation. So we use them in different situations. The big rule after the modal verb, the next verb after the modal verb is the infinitive, to eat, to drink, to go, but we eliminate to. Okay, so the rule after the modal verb, we use a next verb, but we eliminate to. Okay, and that's the very important rule to remember. Prepositions, we have maybe 150 prepositions in English, and prepositions are basically connected to movement, direction, and position. Okay, so speak. I speak in general, but direction, I speak to you. Okay, look, in general, I look, but direction, I look at you. Okay, and for example, on the table, under the table, over the table, beside the table, behind the table, we have a lot of prepositions, and we use prepositions all the time. Number one, literally, and number two, we use prepositions in phrasal verbs, and phrasal verbs are very unique to English and very important. And remember, the preposition has an association with emotion in the phrasal verb. For example, up is positive, up is creation, up is happy, down is negative, down is sad, down is destruction. So usually there is an association with emotion and the prepositions. Okay, so they are very, very important prepositions in English, really important, and we use prepositions all the time. And I recommend that you try to pay attention all the time to the prepositions, because they are a big secret to understand English. Prepositions are so important. Okay, the next category are pronouns, and in my opinion, this area causes or creates a lot of confusion for people. Okay, so I have heard many times people confuse him, her, he, she, his, hers. People confuse this area a lot, and it's a big area for you to be very clear, and you need to prepare and to be very sure. So for example, the possessive adjective, my hat, your hat, his hat, her hat. But then we have the possessive pronoun. The hat is mine, the hat is yours, the hat is his, the hat is hers. Okay, then we have the object pronoun. You give the hat to me, I give the hat to you, give the hat to him, and give the hat to her. So there's 3 or 4 categories that you need to be very clear and very sure, because we use them all the time. And as I said, I have heard the error and the confusion many times when people speak English. So you need to be very clear with this area and this section for sure. Okay. The difference between this, that, these, and those is also important. This is singular, this pen. That pen is singular, but it depends on the position. This pen here, that pen there, these pens here, so it's plural, and those pens there. So there is a big difference between this, that, these, and those. Basically, it's position and singularity or plural. Okay. The difference between another, other, the other, and the others is also very important. So normally, another is for singular. Another day, another person, another week. And other is usually for plural. Other weeks, other days, other people. Okay. So you need to be very sure with the difference between another and other. Singular normally and plural normally. It's possible to say the other when you have a choice or an option of two things. Do you want this coffee or do you want the other coffee? So when you have a choice or a selection of two things and you do not choose one, you choose the other. Okay, that's typical and important. And the other possibility is the others with the S, and that is a group of people. Do you want to speak with us or do you want to speak with the others? Okay, so it is important that you have to be very, very clear. The creation of the sentence. How do you create the sentence in English? Basically, it's connected to do. So we have the affirmative, you like, you eat, you go, and the question is possible do. Do you like, do you eat, do you go? Okay, that's the first possibility with the question. The second possibility is to invert. So you can eat chocolate. The question, can you eat? That's the second possibility. And the formation of the question is important. And again, we use questions all the time, okay? The area of the suffix and the prefix is also fundamental. So you need to be conscious and aware of the suffix and the prefix. And for example, the suffix ance is normally substantive. The importance, for example, ize is normally verb. To realize, to fantasize, to monetize. able is normally adjective. Okay, manageable is one example. ly is adverb, quickly, slowly, happily. Okay, pre is usually before, pre-match, pre-event, and anti is against, anti-tobacco, anti-cigarettes, and the negative prefix is irregular. So we can say impossible, unbelievable. So the prefix for the negative is normally irregular, and that's a little difficult. Okay. Okay, good. So they are the most important topics for the introduction. Linkers and conjunctions, of course, are very important when you link a sentence, and in English we have more advanced structures. However, furthermore, although, as well as, even though, so that area is very fluent and very impressive when you use it correctly, okay? And that's basically it. Also, writing is important and it's a big skill. So if you can practice your writing, it's very important. And a recommendation is to practice as much as possible your writing. Exam preparation, the Cambridge exams are very popular and the IELTS exams are very popular, and that's possible in the future to do. Okay, so let me check the chat. I don't think we have any question with survey on. I know you raised your hand, but again, the chat is available for everybody. So if you have any questions or if you want to say hello or if you want to make a comment, please use the chat. And again, welcome to everybody who's arrived during the introduction. I apologize for the change this morning. I had a problem with my camera on my laptop. So I have two cameras. This camera is very good and it's for Zoom, but Facebook does not recognize this camera. Facebook only recognizes the camera built in the laptop. And for some reason with Windows, we had a problem last night and this morning. So I will try to fix the problem, but I am delighted that you connected on Zoom. Thank you so much for making the effort and for connecting. It's fantastic. So today we will look at an article from India, okay? So this article is from Reuters. So the website is Reuters or Reuters. I never get the pronunciation correct, but it's about COVID, okay? And okay, I see we have a chat before we begin. Maybe you have to, maybe. Yeah, I don't know how to do that, but I'll check later, I'm sure. Okay, so this article is just a general article about COVID and about India, and there's some fantastic vocabulary. So first, I want to read the text, and for pronunciation, I want to practice the pronunciation. And after the first paragraph or the second paragraph, I will analyze the vocabulary, similar structure from last week, okay? So India warns of worsening COVID-19 situation, vaccinations to expand, okay? So I will read a few paragraphs. New Delhi, India announced an expansion of its COVID-19 vaccination program on Wednesday, but warned that breaches of coronavirus protocols could worsen an infection surge in many states. So one paragraph and already we have some fantastic vocabulary. Okay, so very, very interesting and very good level of English. Okay, so here you can see the picture of the man, and they have the explanation at the bottom. So a healthcare worker uses an oximeter, I don't know what that is, to check oxygen level of passengers at a railway station amidst, so that's a preposition, very important, the spread, very important vocabulary, of coronavirus disease in Mumbai, India. Okay, the next paragraph, and then we will look at the vocabulary. Okay, so nearly a month after, so the pronunciation month after the health minister declared that COVID-19 had been contained, states such as Maharashtra in the west and Kerala in the south have reported a spike in cases amid growing reluctance to wear masks and maintain social distancing. Okay, so now I want to show you the vocabulary and the important parts. Okay, so first, India is the subject. The verb is to warn, and I can use my notes here as well. So the verb is to warn, and obviously most people understand a warning is the substantive, and most people are familiar with this. You have a warning on the product, a warning with the trip, but the verb is to warn. Okay, and we have a similar verb, to warn and alert. Okay, so warning is the noun, the verb is to warn, and in English we have another verb, to alert. Okay, and that is possible, but I know in Spanish it's obviously more typical, alertar, but in English they're very, very similar to warn and alert. Okay, and also it's the third person, so India is the third person, and it's necessary S. I warn, you warn, he warns, she warns, India warns. So India is considered the third person. Okay, and that is important. So you can see the next verb is very important. Okay, so people are familiar with the adjective bad. Everything is bad, and the superlative and comparative. So you have bad, worse, and worst. Okay, so I'm going to say bad, worse, and worst, and that's the adjective, all adjectives. But we have a verb, very important to English, and we say to worsen. Okay, so the verb is to worsen. So it's very typical for the situation in the present continuous. The situation is worsening, so the verb is to worsen. And here you can see the suffix. The typical suffix en is normally for a verb, because we can say to darken, to lighten, to soften. Okay, so typically the suffix en is normally a verb. We have a lot of verbs with the suffix en. Another one is to strengthen. I can get my spelling right, and that's an indicator. Here we have the en and also the ing. So India warns of worsening COVID situation, vaccinations to expand. Okay, I think we have another word there. No, okay. So the verb to expand is like to grow. Okay, and we have a few similar words, to expand and extend. So you need to be clear with the difference, expand and extend. There is a little difference with this. Expand is maybe this direction, and extend is maybe length. You remember the difference between width and length. So expand is probably width, amplio, and extend is maybe length. Okay, and it's possible with time. If you have a stay in America, you only have 3 months you are permitted to stay, but you want to extend the time. Okay, so with time we extend, and with maybe width, like amplio, it's possible to expand the amplio. Okay, so that is important. The next one is the verb to announce. Okay, so if you have some news, you want to announce the problem, announce the situation. Very typical for the company. The company announced the situation, so it's the context. Maybe the family, you can announce news. If the lady is pregnant or the couple are getting married, you can announce. So it's probably formal, and the substantive is very important. So the verb is to announce, and the substantive is an announcement. Okay, and you can probably identify the pronunciation in my Irish accent at the beginning. I said the OU in Ireland, or for me, is possibly strong, and that's a good example. So I say to announce, and sometimes it's very, very strong with the OU, but the substantive is an announcement. Okay, so very, very important. In this situation, it's India and it's the past simple announced. Expansion is the substantive, and you remember every substantive you require an article, a or the. There is one rule when the word begins with a vowel, a, e, I, o, u. So when the word, the substantive, begins with a vowel, regularly, normally we need an. So the reason it's an is because of the vowel in expansion, but we have some exceptions, but in this case, it's the general rule. Okay, and it's is another situation here. So I'm curious if you can identify and understand the significance of it's here. So really it's possession. For example, my program, your program, his program, India's program, its program. So it's is the possession, is the possessive adjective for India. Okay, it's like his, but it's not a man or it's not a woman. So for the country, we say it's, and that's a big difference from Spanish and Portuguese. In Spanish, you say su, which translates as his because it's masculine. But for us, a country, it's general. It's there's no gender, so we say it's, and that's very, very important. Very simple, but very important. Okay. Vaccination. So here you can see the suffix, and this is an example of the substantive because the verb is to vaccinate. Okay, so the verb is to vaccinate. The substantive is a vaccination, and the verb there's another substantive, a vaccine, and this is the particular word for pronunciation, a vaccine. It's very, very hard for pronunciation because in Spanish it's vacuna, but in English the pronunciation is a vaccine. Okay, difficult pronunciation, but very typical this year because everybody, of course, is speaking about the vaccine. So pronunciation is important. Okay. Preposition for the day is on Monday, on Tuesday, on Wednesday. The month, we say in January, in February, in December. So for the month, it's in. For the day, it is on. And you need to be very clear of the difference as well. Maybe for the morning, we say in the morning, afternoon, in the afternoon, evening, in the evening. Okay. Again, warned is the verb to warn, and it's the past simple, regular. Breach. This is the first difficult vocabulary, but it is very, very important. The verb is to breach, and it's typical with security. So the verb is to breach, and the context is typical security. I think, yeah, so you have security and everything is protected. So to breach is to go through the security or to break the protection. If you breach security, you break the protection and you enter the dangerous area, okay? So it is very flexible. In football, when you have defense, or sports, you have the defense and you want to breach the defense. So you want to break the defense, okay? But if you have a law in the government or the society, you have a law, it's possible to breach the law, which again is the same significance, to break the law, okay? To breach the law, to break the law. Okay, so here you can see, and here it's the here it's the verb because it's the present, and the subject, I think it's the verb. No, sorry, here it's the substantive in the plural. Okay, so a breach is singular, but here it's substantive in plural. So breaches of the protocol, which is very similar to the law. So in this case, it's the breach of the protocol, breach of the law. Again, could is the modal. So here we can see could with the modal. And you remember the rule, the most important rule after the modal is the infinitive verb, but it's necessary to eliminate to. And you remember the explanation of the verb to worsen. It is a verb to make the situation worse. So the verb is to worsen, en. And here it's the modal, it's a possibility, and it's the infinitive of the verb with eliminating the to. So that's the rule, okay? The next word is very good, an infection surge. So it's worsening an infection surge. So the verb is to surge, and the significance is to increase dramatically. So it's typical in electricity. For the context of electricity, you have a power surge. So for example, in my room, I have the electricity, I have the light, I have the camera, I have the laptop, I have a lot of power. I need a lot of power. So that's a power surge for the electricity. So the verb to surge is a big increase. And in athletics or in running, if you have a surge of pace or a surge of velocity. It's a very quick increase. Okay, so to surge is a quick and strong increase. Maybe it's possible with temperature. So in Ireland, we never have a surge of temperature, but in Brazil, you have a surge of temperature, which is a dramatic increase, a quick increase. Okay, so it is a little flexible, and it's good for athletics, it's good for electricity, and it's good for maybe prices as well. You have a surge in the price or your temperature, so it's a big increase. Okay, so very good. And in this case, the infections, the number of infections are surging, increasing dramatically. Okay, good. So the next page here, you can see at the bottom of the picture, we have some important vocabulary. So the healthcare worker. So again, the difference between health and healthy is a very important difference, and it's a lot of confusion. I have heard people confuse this a lot. So health is the substantive. You have good health, that's the substantive. Also for the system in the country, it's the health system, because it's the substantive, the health system. Here it's a healthcare worker, but healthy is the adjective. You are very healthy. You look very healthy. The situation is very healthy. So you need to be clear the difference between health in the noun and healthy with the adjective. But as I said, the most common confusion is the government or the society, the health department or the section, the health section. That's the typical word we use, okay? Uses, so the verb to use, and it's the third person. I use, you use, he uses with the S, she uses, okay? So it's the third person. Another example of the article and the oximeter is the substantive beginning with the vowel. So because it begins with a vowel, it's necessary the substantive with an article an. So that's a little rule, and that's very important as well. In this case, an oximeter, okay? At is the specific location. So here they're at the station, at the railway station. So specific location, we say at. Amidst is the preposition, and it means in the middle. It's a very important preposition. It's a little older and a little older English, but really it means in the middle. And you can also say amid. So two prepositions, and the significance is in the middle. You can see here, middle. So for example, this year, 2021, we are amid the pandemic, or we are amidst the pandemic. So the pronunciation is a little different, but the significance is a little formal, and the significance is in the middle of, okay? Amidst the exam, amidst your studies, a little formal, but important to realize, okay? Spread, so this word is very, very important, and my favorite example is always chocolate spread. So Nutella, I think everybody understands Nutella. In English, normally we call Nutella chocolate spread, okay? So everybody is familiar with the brand, with the mark Nutella, but also with butter. The verb to spread is this action, because the chocolate, and you spread the chocolate, or the butter, you spread the butter, but it's more flexible in relation to the virus. The virus will spread. I think in Spanish it's difundir, okay? So the virus will spread, and maybe in Portuguese it's the same. Also with information or a story or gossip, so the information will spread, the gossip will spread, or the infection will spread as well. For example, Brazilian people are spread around the world. So it's a very flexible word and very common. And in this example, it's related to the virus. It's the spread of the virus, okay? In is the preposition for the city or the country, in Ireland or in Mumbai. So typical preposition for the city or for the country. Okay, and the next page, I'm going to start with the first paragraph. Again, we have some very good vocabulary, so I don't know if that helps. Maybe it's better like this. So nearly has a significance of almost, nearly 2 o'clock, almost 2 o'clock, nearly a month after the health minister, and this is the same explanation, the difference between health and healthy. So because it's the government, because it's the position, it's necessary health minister. So in this case, I think it's two substantives, and that's possible, two nouns together. So normally it's an adjective. So there's a big difference between the health minister and the healthy minister. Big, big difference. So the health minister is the minister for the government, but the healthy minister is more his condition. Okay, so or her condition. So it's very important. Such as is for examples. So normally when you mention examples, you say such as, two possibilities, such as or like. I have a lot of hobbies such as swimming, dancing, running, playing football. They are my hobbies such as or like. So it's possible such as or like. A spike. Okay, this is very interesting. So the word is a spike. And the concept, the first context, I think, is the adjective spiky for hair. So you have spiky hair, which is the type of hair that's very popular with the boys, spiky hair. It's possible a person is very spiky, and it's the significance like very aggressive, very impolite, very rude. So you ask the person a question and they're very angry, so they're very spiky. Okay, so a spike is this action. Maybe on the road you have the fence, valla in Espanol, the fence, and the spike is at the top of the fence to stop people climbing, to stop people entering. So that's a spike. It's possible in price. You have a spike in price, you have a spike in temperature. So it is very important. And here it's the cases. So they have a surge or a spike. So it's a synonym for a surge. Okay. So it is important for sure. Good vocabulary and very, very interesting. And then again, we have a mid. So this is exactly the same as amidst, and it's just more vocabulary and a synonym. So it's basically in the middle of. Growing reluctance. So you can see the suffix ance is the substantive. So the adjective is reluctant, is the adjective. Reluctant is the adjective, and the noun is their reluctance. Okay, so that's the difference between the adjective and the noun, and that study, that area of the suffix and the prefix is very important. So ant is the adjective in this case, and ance. And from my experience, a lot of people generally sometimes have difficulty between the detail of the noun and the detail of the adjective. And it's very obvious when people make this error. It's very, very obvious the difference between the substantive. And this is just one example, okay? Maintain social distance. So the reason I identify maintain is because here it's possible to keep. So you can keep distance, or you can maintain distance. So generally keep, maintain, and stay are very similar, but in this context with the distance, you can keep distance or you can maintain distance, and stay away or stay apart is possible. But in this case, it's possible to maintain the distance or keep the distance, okay? That's the reason I identified it. The next example is an example in English of the adjective and the comparative and the superlative. So that's the technical explanation, the comparative and the superlative. And the regular rule is the comparative is ER and the superlative is EST. And this is the regular example. So originally the adjective is high and the comparative is higher than, okay? And that's important. And then the superlative is the highest. Okay, so that's the general rule, and that's the ending or the suffix for the superlative, the most, okay, the happiest, the highest, but it depends on the syllable. So the rule generally depends on a syllable. If the adjective has one syllable, generally we say ER, and the superlative is generally EST. But if the adjective has more than one syllable, for example, important, we say more. More important, most important. That's the general rule between the two, but there are irregularities sometimes because English has a lot of irregularities. Okay, so that's just important. Swell is very good vocabulary as well, very advanced and very good. So the first context, I think, is in conversation, a little formal. It is very swell, very formal, very polite, probably old English, and it means fantastic. It is very incredible. It is very swell. So it's a bit formal. Be very careful, but it is possible, and significance is fantastic, very good. But originally the verb is to swell, and the typical context is the river. So if the river swells, it increases. Okay, so that's the significance with the water. It's raining a lot in Dublin all the time. So the river in Ireland, the river in Dublin swells. It grows and increases. But we also use it for your ankle or for your body. So if you fall and you hurt your ankle, okay, we can use the adjective swollen ankle. So this word swollen is very common for the body when you have an inflammation. So the significance is a synonym for inflammation, okay? But here the word is a little bit different in the context. It is swell, like it is fantastic, okay? So here, again, I think it's connected to the cases and the coronavirus. So you have a spike, a surge, or a swell. So very, very important examples and very good vocabulary, a good variety of advanced vocabulary. Further is very important as well. So far is the adjective. Dublin is very far from Rio. Dublin is very far from Bulgaria. Far, okay? And the comparative is further. So remember, it's irregular. Far has one syllable, but it's irregular. So the incorrect is more far. So we say further. And there's another possibility with further. There's two significance. One is distance, and the second is more. Further information, further education, further news. So the significance is more, but it's the same concept because it's distance, okay? And there is one exception and one rule. It's possible to say farther. This is possible with the A, and the technical explanation is distance. So this word, the second word, farther, technically is related to distance. So for example, Galway is farther than Limerick. So in reality, it's very flexible, and in reality, the two are used very common. But just to be aware and to be conscious of the A and the U, okay? So here, the significance is more. Further education, further information, further 13,000, so more in the past 24 hours. Rose is a very good example, and I think last week I explained the difference between to rise and to raise. So there is a big difference in the use and the context between rise and raise. You can see the difference is the A. So again, the explanation is probably with the first verb, usually the subject for the first verb is temperature, price, sun. So the subject is usually a substantive. So the price rises, the temperature rises, the sun rises, and the second verb is usually the subject, the person. So I raise my hand, I raise a question, and I think Surveillon in the question lifted his hand or raised his hand. So to raise, the second verb is typical for the person. There is another example for children. If you are the parent or I am the parent, I raise the child, and the significance is I educate, I provide food, I provide security, I provide love. So I raise the child, and it's a very typical sentence. In the passive, remember the active and the passive. So my mother raised me is the active, but I was raised in Ireland. That's a perfect example of the active and the passive, and it's very typical with the second verb here. The past of rise is rose. So it's more complicated, okay? Because, for example, the sun, the temperature, the sun rose in the past, so it's irregular in the past. And there's a perfect example of the difficulty and the irregularity of English. So the sun rises, but yesterday the sun rose, okay? And it's irregular in the past, and the past for raise is regular. So I raised is the past of this, so it's regular. Okay, so here the substantive is the debts, and you need to be clear also with the difference. The verb is to die, the adjective is dead, and the substantive is death, and that family is very important for the detail. Okay, so the verb is to die, the past is died, okay, the adjective is dead, and the substantive is death. So you need to be clear with the difference of all of them, because they are very, very important for sure. Okay, so here the substantive in the plural, the debts rose by a 2-week high, and here you can see a hyphen. So we have a little, this word technically is a hyphen, the symbol, and the function of the hyphen is to connect two words to make one word. So two is one word, week is another word, and you can combine the two with the hyphen to create one word. And here it's an adjective. 2 week together is one adjective. That's generally the rule with the hyphen, okay? The next paragraph is very interesting as well. So first we have the quotation, and it's a quotation, a comment from somebody. The vocabulary we have here is laxity. So laxity is the substantive. The adjective is lax. So to be lax or to have laxity, I think it's connected to relax. It's definitely the family for relax, okay? But to be lax is to be very calm, to be very lazy. So the opposite of discipline, the opposite of punctual, you're very lax, you're very calm, but usually in a negative sense. So if you have responsibility in your job and you are very lax, you do not do the job, you do the job very badly, you forget, and you are very lazy. So you are very lax, okay? The substantive is laxity. There is another word, laxative, which is related to the medicine. If you take the laxative, that makes your digestion improve quickly. And it's the same family because it probably relaxes your stomach. So again, it's all connected to relax and calm, okay? A laxative is the medicine. Okay, and I don't think that's the spelling according to the computer. So let me check. Okay, laxative, interesting. So any casual, any laziness. Remember, lazy is the adjective, and laziness is the substantive. So any laziness is a synonym in implementing measures. So first, the verb is to measure, and it's typical with liquid or distance. So you measure the distance. In Spanish, it's medir. In Portuguese, hopefully it's the same. But to measure is the distance, or to measure the liquid, or to measure the temperature. And the substantive is a measurement, okay? But it is also possible in politics. So the government introduce a measure, the company introduce a new measure, like a policy or an action, okay? And in this case, the context is probably business, professional, or maybe politics, like a new action. Stringent is very, very good vocabulary as well. Stringent is very strict. So very stringent, it's a synonym and maybe more advanced vocabulary for strict. If the person's very stringent, they're very strict and very according to the rules, very black and white. So here the measures are very stringent, they're very hard and very strong. The next verb is very, very good, to curb the spread. And if you understand the significance, this is very advanced, but this is a very good example of advanced English, to curb the spread, okay? And to curb really means to reduce or to stop. So to curb the crisis, to curb the numbers is to reduce or to stop. And I think it's connected to the road. So we have two words, okay? So we have a curb and a curb. And I think the two are possible. The reason the computer is not recognizing the first one is because it's possible in the United States and the United Kingdom. And my text, I think, is connected to the United Kingdom. So curb is maybe possible in the United States. But really, the significance of a curb is the road. So in the residential area, you have the road and you have the car. And at the side of the road, you have the curb. So the curb is the concrete, the little concrete. You have the path and you have the road. So the distance between the path and the road or the sidewalk is the curb, okay? So I think that's the significance. To curb is like to stop, okay? And also for in the industry or maybe in prostitution, it's possible to say a curb crawler, because the verb is to crawl and it's the person who's walking on the pathway and looking for that activity. So it is possible as well, a curb crawler. That's obviously specific vocabulary, and I think you can say this is the significance, but the verb is to crawl, okay? Typical for the baby. So you have to crawl before you can walk is a metaphor and expression. So you have to crawl before you can walk. So you need to take the steps, and that's a famous expression. You have to crawl before you can walk, okay? So again, a curb is the substantive for where the path meets the road, but it's also a very common verb to stop, to curb the disease, to curb the virus. And here, it's to curb the spread. And you remember the significance of to spread, like chocolate spread, Nutella. So to spread is to move in lots of different places, like disperse. So to spread is like disperse. And in this case, it's the substantive. In view of is an example of a linker. So it's like considering. In view of the news, I want to change my action. In view of the weather, we will change the plan. So when we see the situation, when we see the weather, view, that's the comfortable linker, cohesive device, cohesive connector between the sentence. In view of the regulations, in view of the news, you take an action, okay? Strain is very, very good, okay? So strain is obviously connected to the virus. You have the original virus and you have the strain of the virus. So the strain is like the variant, number one, very technical vocabulary for the virus, the strain. But there is a word, and I think Maria yesterday in the comment mentioned the translation esquicer, I think something like this in Spanish, typical for your ankle. So if you strain your ankle, sorry, we have two verbs, to sprain and to strain. So you need to be very, very careful. Strain is when you are exerting yourself. So if I'm reaching, if I try to reach for the coffee and I'm straining, the significance is it's a lot of effort and it's difficult and I'm working very hard. So to strain is to do this action. Or for the economy, if there is a strain on the economy, a lot of pressure and a lot of tension. Okay, so a strain on the economy is a lot of pressure and a lot of tension. And a sprain, as Maria said yesterday, was a little action with your ankle. When you have a problem with your ankle, you sprain, okay? But in this context, it's the virus. So a strain of the virus is like a variant, okay? Excuse me. It's also possible with the person, I am straining to see the incident. So there is an incident on the street and I am looking, I'm moving my body very, very hard to see. So I am straining my body to see the incident. So that's just one example and context, okay? Here we have the modal verb, again, could, compound. So very good vocabulary, to compound the situation. Basically is the significance to make the situation worse. But could is the modal. And remember, after the modal, we have the infinitive, to compound, but it's necessary to eliminate to, okay? Okay, and the next one is a phrasal verb, to single out. And it's very, very good phrasal verb, to single out. So imagine the context of a group of people and the person, one person, single out another person. So the significance is to identify one person, single, and take the one person out, okay? So in the school, maybe the teacher singles out one person to compliment or to praise. And you remember the verb to praise, it's to give compliment or to say something nice. So if the teacher singles out one person, the teacher identifies one person for a particular purpose. And in this case, the statement, so the statement is typical from the government. The verb is to state, like to say, and the substantive is a statement. So the ministry, the government released or said in a statement, they identified 9 states. So they only identified 9 from maybe 100. Okay, so to single out is to identify one person, or in this case, it's 9, but it's the metaphor. Okay, good. So that's just an example of vocabulary, and it's very important. And I think now is a good time to change the activity. Maybe we can practice some speaking. So in the chat, let's try this because it's new for me in Zoom, but it's an option if you want to participate with some speaking. Now is the moment, and you can introduce yourself. And if you have any questions with English, you can ask me some questions, or if you have any comment about the class, you can ask me a comment. So the second option would be, you can, on your Zoom, you can raise your hand, number 1, if you want to practice speaking, and number 2 in the chat if you want to participate. Now is the moment to write in the chat, and we can try to experiment with Zoom, because it's my first time to do a meeting on Zoom with a class, so that is possible. So it's available if you want, and if we do not, I suppose the next thing we have is the list of phrasal verbs and the list of idioms. But maybe my computer, hopefully we have no problem with the computer, and I want to open my phrasal verbs and the prepositions, and I want to open my idiom list, okay? So this is the plan. We can open the phrasal verbs and the idioms, but again, now is the moment if you want to chat. And let me see, hopefully we have one participant. Catherine, do you want to speak? Would you like me to connect with you? So hopefully, well, I don't know if she wants to or if she's just saying hello. Okay, perfect, good. So let me investigate if I can do this. I think I need to go to the group, and Catherine, let me see. No, I can't find Catherine. I'm sorry, I don't know how to do this perfectly. So let me go to participants. So I look for Catherine and apologize because this is, okay, perfect. Ask to unmute Catherine. Perfect. It looks easy. I think famous word. So ask to make host, ask to start video.
Hi.
Perfecto. Hello, Catherine. How are you?
Hello, everybody. I'm good. I'm from
Fantastic.
Colombia.
Okay, you are from Colombia. And what time is it in Colombia?
7 in the morning.
Okay. Wow, it's very early.
Yes.
And
Very early.
why are you awake so early? Why are you awake? You should be asleep.
And in Colombia, I believe I believe in Latin America the people is don't sleep.
Is that true? Really, people do not sleep a lot.
Yes.
Okay, and how is everything in Colombia with obviously the pandemic? How is everything at the moment?
Oh, it's very strong in the pandemic in this moment.
Yeah.
But I believe that is more. I'm sorry.
No, you're okay. You're okay. Yeah.
Okay. Is less strong.
Yeah.
Less strong than in Europe.
Okay. Yes. And for example, the life at the moment, you have a lot of restrictions with the cafes are closed, the bars are closed, or how is the life at the moment?
At the moment, all the people can go out of the house.
Okay.
And the restaurants, the coffees are open for all, but with some restrictions.
Okay.
In the night.
Okay. And this is a problem in Colombia, I think, because the people, like in Spain, they normally like the nighttime. Is that true? Oh, I think we've lost. I think we've lost the volume. I don't know if you can hear me, Catherine, but I think the volume has gone. So let me go back. Okay, fantastic. Let me go to another person, and I see Unere wants to raise. I'm very bad with this technology, so let me go to try and find Unere. Where is Unere? Perfect, at the top. Okay, so I'm going to ask to unmute and to start the video. Okay, perfect. I don't recognize the name Unere. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Nice to meet you.
Fantastic. Nice to meet you too. So where are you from? And
I raise my hand because I'm from Venezuela, closer to Colombia.
Okay. And how is life in Venezuela? Is it very similar to what Catherine said? A lot of restrictions?
No, we have a restriction, but the life is not good now.
Yeah.
For life going now, people don't care about Corona. They don't care about this virus. Everybody is visiting everybody.
Really? Yeah.
But restaurants are open. So people are living their normal life.
And in relation to the numbers and obviously the problem, the numbers continue to be very high. Is it out of control or is everything under control?
We have issue with that. I have my doubts about the numbers, the cases or number, because they say 100,000 plus cases, but I don't I haven't seen the government make texting everybody to see if they already has COVID or not.
Yeah.
So that number, I have my doubts about the numbers of cases.
Okay, and have you visited Colombia before? So Catherine is in Colombia. Have you visited Colombia because it's very close to Venezuela?
Of course, I visited Colombia only one time. It was in 2019 because I traveled from Caracas to Bogota.
Okay.
To go to London. That was the only moment when I was in Colombia. But you know something funny? I'm Colombian citizen as well, but I haven't visited Colombia for tourists or live or going to visit family there or something like that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the life in Venezuela, it's very important at the night time. Do you have restrictions at night? Because maybe in Colombia it's very popular. I know in Spain, I lived in Madrid, and the night is that the same in Venezuela?
No, it's not the same in Venezuela. In Venezuela, we have something like this: 1 week with restriction, another week without restrictions.
Yeah.
It's not sense. It's not. I cannot understand that the way where the government is dealing with this virus.
Yes.
When we are in restriction, all people can go out during the morning, but during the night, in the afternoon or in the evening at night, everybody has to be at home.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And the weather is probably incredible in Venezuela.
The weather is amazing.
Oh, fantastic.
You can go there. The weather it's not too hot, it's not too cold, it's very nice. You can wear I don't know, can I say that? Light clothes. You cannot be wearing warm.
Yeah. Like capas in Espanol, capas.
Capas.
Or light clothes. You say light clothes.
Light clothes, yes. T-shirts, trousers,
Exactly.
shorts, dresses, skirt, during all year.
Super. Well, your English is really, really good. So thank you so much for participating. Really, really good English. So just let me check if anybody wants to comment or if anybody wants to join.
Okay, thank you. It was nice to talk to you. I've been learning English at the British Council, but I left my classes there.
Yeah.
I'm remembering all things what you are talking about.
Good.
It's very nice.
Good. So your history with English, in my experience, I think people from Venezuela in general have good level of English. Do you agree that this is true?
Yes, I agree. I do. Yes, I do.
And what is
people
here
in Venezuela like studying, exploring new things, getting new knowledges.
Yeah.
People here is too active. Yes.
But in Ireland, we have a lot of people in Ireland from Venezuela, from Brazil, from Colombia, from Spain. It's fantastic, the opportunity for people to travel. So what do you think is the most difficult thing for English for you? Do you have an area that's very difficult for you?
For me, it's my fear, because I'm not feeling comfortable when I'm talking in English, because I'm thinking I'm not pronouncing properly my English. But
sorry, go ahead.
No, it's all right. Just I need to improve my writings. But I'm feeling comfortable. For example, I understand everything you are talking about.
Good. And probably practicing speaking is very important. In the chat, I saw some people chat. So the best way to participate is to raise your hand. So there's an option on the chat if you want to raise your hand, and then I can find you. So I just saw some comments. But is it 7 o'clock in the morning in Venezuela at the moment?
No, it's 8:30 in the morning.
Okay, so a little later.
Yes, yes, a little later.
Okay, I
But
see.
it's good time to go to work to
Yeah.
do your thing during the day.
Absolutely, it's fantastic. So Unere, thank you so much for calling. I really appreciate it. And now I'm just going to put you on mute and I'm going to introduce Leandro. So thank you so much, Unere. It was a pleasure.
Okay, it was a pleasure to meet too.
Thank you
Nice.
very much.
Okay, have a nice day.
Thank you so much. You too. And now Leandro. Okay, so I'll ask to unmute and I'll ask to start the video. Okay, so hopefully we can connect with Leandro. And can you hear me, Leandro? We'll start video later. Okay.
Hello.
Hello, sir. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you. Nice to meet you, teacher.
Nice to meet you too. Thank you for connecting. So can you tell me a little where you are calling from?
Yes. I'm from Brazil. I'm calling from Brazil.
Yeah.
Nearly Colombia and also Venezuela.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. So we have a lot of South American people today. Fantastic.
Yeah.
And what is your situation with English at the moment? Do you study a lot or do you have experience with English?
I have been in Ireland for 8-9 months.
Okay.
I study English in a school in Dublin, in City Center.
Ah, fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah, the name of the school called English Hour.
Okay.
I don't know if you know.
No, I don't know it really, but was it a good experience? A good time in Dublin?
Yes, it was a good time for me. I missed it so much.
Oh, yes. Did you want to stay more or did you have to go home because of the pandemic?
Yes, I have to go out in March. Yes, I lived the Ireland in March.
Oh, okay.
When the pandemic is grow up in Ireland and everybody's closed. At the moment I lived.
And you know, a lot of people continue in Ireland. A lot of people, you know, of course, there is a lot of a big community from Brazil in Ireland.
Yes, I know a lot of people living there yet, but I choose live because I have a family. I have,
of course,
I have a wife and children.
Yeah.
And I have to go back to Brazil. I don't know the situation.
Yeah.
You know.
And in relation to English, so one last question in relation to English. Do you find English difficult, or what is your situation with English at the moment? Is it something necessary, or can you talk a little about your English?
For me, I needed to practice more English because in Brazil I almost I can't practice with another person here.
Yes.
But hopefully I find this class.
Yeah.
And now I can every day in the morning to learning more.
Yeah. Super. I think for me it's fantastic that you can connect from Brazil. But thank you so much, Leandro, for speaking. I just see more people want to participate, which is fantastic. So Leandro, thank you so much. I'm just going to put you on mute at the moment, and thank you so much for participating. Okay. Perfect. Thank you so much. First, this is the social media. So if you want to connect on social media with Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, everything is possible. But now let's return to some people who want to practice. And I think I see Matteo. I recognize Matteo from the group. So maybe this is the same Matteo from the comments. So I'll try to ask Matteo if he wants to participate and to ask him unmute. And hopefully we can, I think this is Matteo from Italy. I'm familiar with the name, hopefully. Oh no. Hello, Matteo. No, okay. So there's another person here. Mask. Let's connect with Mask. I think Mask is from Indonesia. So let me see if we can connect with Mask. Oh, sorry. Hello, Matteo. How are you?
Hi. Hi, teacher.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Are you having a good morning?
Yeah. It's pretty warm here. I live in Rome. I come from Italy.
Ah, okay. Fantastic.
Yeah.
What
about you? How are you?
I'm okay. Yes, I'm in Dublin, and I had a little problem this morning with the Facebook Live, which was a disaster. But hopefully everything is okay with Zoom. But how is life in Rome? Have you always lived in Rome? Do you recommend to live in Rome?
Yeah, I was born in Rome and I raised here in Rome.
Yeah.
So I always lived here. Life here is a little tough.
Yes.
It's tough regarding the job condition,
Yeah.
It's not so easy to find a good job here.
Yes.
I'm graduated, but it's not easy to stay here for tourism. It's fantastic. Rome, I think Rome is one of the most beautiful city in the world. So for tourism I suggest to come here, but to live is a little bit difficult.
And can you explain why your English is so good? I mean, you lived in Rome all your life, so how did you learn English, and how is your English very, very good?
Thank you. I've been learning English since I am a child.
Okay.
Like 15 years, but I have to improve, mainly the pronunciation. I'm trying to learn as much as possible new words every day, trying to improve the pronunciation, because here in school in Italy, for example, they teach English. It's not that bad, but they don't care much about the pronunciation. So a lot of words, whenever I speak with English mother tongue, are different comparing the way I learn in school. So it's not that easy for me.
Yeah,
I understand. For example, if I try to read a book or magazine, almost everything. But whenever I speak, I found the most difficulties.
And you can see in English pronunciation sometimes is irregular. We have some difficulties with phonetics in English, so it's not easy. But
also for this, I think also for this, because a lot of words don't correspond to how they are written generally.
Exactly. Yeah.
And it's not that easy. For example, yesterday I was focusing at the ed pronunciation of the verb, and that was a big issue for me. But now I think I'm a little bit more expert, like you say.
It's a very good question that you say, because the ed sometimes is very strong and the ed sometimes is very short. So it's irregular. But thank you so much, Matteo. The last question: if you are from Rome, are you Roma or are you Lazio?
No, no, I'm not. I support another team. I don't know if you know, but maybe you know Juventus.
Oh, of course.
Juventus.
Of course.
What about you? What's your favorite team?
Probably Manchester United.
Manchester United.
Yeah.
No team in Ireland, no?
Well, exactly. We have a small league in Ireland. We have teams, but the league is small compared to obviously England. But Matteo, thank you so much for participating.
You're welcome.
This morning.
It's been a pleasure.
Me too. It was a pleasure for me, and I'm just going to go back to the group.
Okay. Bye.
Thank you so much. See you later, Matteo. Take care. And no, fantastic. So I think that's everybody. And then Mask. So I'll ask Mask to participate if she wants. And let me see if that's okay. But before, we're here. One moment with Mask. So before, sorry, Mask, let me speak. Sorry, one moment. So before we continue, remember that you can connect on social media. It's Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. Everything is free. It's a good opportunity for me to teach. But if you want to support me a little, if you have the ability to contribute just maybe €1 or a little, that's possible by Bizum or PayPal. It would be a big help or a big support to me. It's only optional because I really want to help to teach, especially at the moment. But if you feel like you want to support or you want to contribute, that's the possibility here. So just before I continue with the speaking, I just wanted to mention this, okay? So that's an option. And now we will go back to the class and go back to Mask. Sorry for interrupting you, Mask. So hopefully you can connect now. Can you hear me now, Mask? Sorry about that.
Yes, I can hear you clearly. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Good evening from Indonesia.
Oh,
yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah, so, it is night now. It is 7:45, and I think it is 12:46 in your place, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
In Dublin. Yeah. Good. I know your time. I mean, I know your time zone. Yeah, we have 7 hours difference.
And Indonesia. So can you explain to everybody life in Indonesia? What is life like? Can you explain to people?
Yeah, I think for now our life is the same. As we know, we face the same problem related to the coronavirus.
Yeah.
Almost all activities are also restricted here. Like offices open from 8 p.m. to 2 p.m. But usually before coronavirus came, usually open till like 3 a.m. And our schools are also still closed for now.
Okay. Yeah.
But government announced it for next month. It is, for me, it's good news. For months we can start activity like before, so
yeah,
we can go back to normal. So students can go back to schools and meet teachers and doing activities face to face like us now, but in the real, not in online classes.
Okay, super. So thank you so much. But if maybe you can stay and maybe we can introduce 2 or 3 people. So if maybe another person wants to join the debate, we can practice with 2 or 3 people. So again, if you want to participate, just maybe raise your hand and maybe we can introduce 2 or 3 people and we can have a conversation about different things if you want. Okay, so that's a possibility. But Mask, so what about the class? Do you have any suggestion to improve the class or to something to work on or to focus on in particular?
Yeah, basically all of your classes, and I'm so excited because I can join for almost every year's class every day. Yeah, and for me, I want to say, I forgot. Yeah, maybe not for every class, but in some classes, maybe you can add like yesterday's class. No, not yesterday, but 3 or 2 days ago.
Yeah,
we can do some quizzes. So our participants can put comments. They can learn directly.
Yes,
maybe like this.
That's a very good suggestion. So the exercises.
You know, in your classes, I'm not only learning about English or about grammar, but also I learn about accents, because you have different accents, as I told you before when we talked at the first time. Yeah, it's very, very interesting. You know, usually I speak with some people from the UK or from the US, and they have different accent, but only only 2-part accents, but you have another accent.
Yes.
yeah, like you pronounce dan as done, must as must, like this. Yeah, it's very, it's very, very interesting.
Super.
Because because I love learn English, so that's why I want to learn not only English but also the culture.
Yes, that's the culture is part. It's very important.
Yeah,
it's part of the language. But Mas, thank you so much for participating, and thank you so much for speaking. It's very good practice, and thank you so much. So I hope that you enjoy your evening.
Thank you. It's my pleasure. And I would like to share this meeting to some groups. Is it okay?
Yeah, so after the meeting, I will post on Facebook because I had a little problem, but I will record this meeting and I will post. But yes, you're more than welcome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You're
Your
welcome.
class is perfect.
And talk to you soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye, 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 bye. Okay, super. So that is good practice. We had people from Rome, people from Indonesia, and Unere was from Colombia and Venezuela. Sorry, Catherine was from Colombia and Unere was from Venezuela. Okay, super. So that's really good practice. I think it's probably a good time to maybe end the class, sadly, but unless you're welcome to participate again if you want. Just let me know before we finish. But again, thank you so much. I'm delighted. And just to remind you again, if you want to support me, if you want to help me, that would be a great option. It's only optional because I know a lot of people have lost jobs and a lot of people have difficult situations. So don't contribute if you're in that case, but only if you want. Okay. So I think we're ready to finish, and that was fantastic. A good day. Introduction of grammar, analysis of an article, and also some practice for speaking. So tomorrow, hopefully I will fix the issue and the camera problem for Facebook Live and we can return to Facebook Live. But it's a very good option on Zoom. And thank you so much for everybody for connecting, because I did not know what would happen. But thank you so much and have a great day, and take care and talk to you soon. Okay, bye-bye. Okay, I'll end for everybody. Thank you.